What is going on, guys? My name is D-Free. Welcome back to another Dokkan Battle video. Today, this is more or less a video aimed at the global player base, but you can still kind of take something from it if you're a Japanese player and you're struggling with boss rush. So what boss rush is it's a boss rush. Basically, you fight on different difficulties. So as you see here, we have Super Stage 1. This incorporates, which I can't zoom in for whatever reason, but right here, which now it'll let me zoom. There it goes. I needed to click. Anyways, Super Stage 1, it's just 0 stamina for the whole event every stage. You fight Broly, then you fight Tech Cell, then you fight Physical Kid Buu, then Goku, and then Janemba. The very first events up until Gogeta, except Gogeta's not really in there, but pretty much those are the events you fight. And then the second stage, Super 2, is the difficulty, so they're a little bit more difficult. You fight Broly, then Tech Cell, and so on and so forth as you see the final bosses all the way through. Then this is I think this is the longest one. No, this is the one that we generally ran in videos for a long time. Super 2, Stage 2. Super Saiyan Blue, Kaioken, then Tech Frieza. This is the Demigod stage. You have Goku Black, you have STR Cell, and the Intelligent Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. And this is the one where you fight everybody. Level 2, Super 3. So you fight everybody in different orders. Well, not everybody, but most of the events. Like, you don't fight the original events that are in the very first one. Like, you don't fight these, but you fight pretty much everybody. And then this one is going to take a while to come because it's just got on JP. So Global's not getting that yet, but that's what the Neo God leaders, or whatever we call those things, those guys. So anyways, let's go ahead and, oh, by the way, so they also have the stones that you get listed here. For the first one, you get 5. Second one, you get 10. You get 20 for that one, 30 for this massive one, and then 30 for the last one. So what is that? 30, 60, 80, 90, 95 stones total. Pretty good for a free-to-play player, especially if you can hold those and turn them into like a Dokkan event later on down the line. So it doesn't cost you any stamina, anything like that. It's a very good event, like I said, for a lot of showcasing, which is why we do it. So the point of the video, I've showcased gameplay on like all these stages so far. You could check those out if you want ideas. But I wanted to kind of do like a general team building type of thing and kind of give my thoughts as far as like teams go for boss rush. So one thing that I want to say is you're going to want to make sure that you've played through the game enough to where you've awakened your units, right? Because think about it this way. You're fighting all these consecutive events, and you only have the same items, which brings me to my next point. You want to make sure you've made the Dragon Ball wish to get that extra, item slot? I think you start off with 3 and you get a 4th? Is that how it works? It's been so long. Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's either you start off at 3 or you start off at 2. Either way, you get that last item slot in there, so you have a little bit more items and leverage to play with. So as far as teams go, longevity is key. That is the most important thing with boss rush. Sorry, closing Skype. Longevity is the most important thing when it comes to boss rush. What you want to focus on is having the most HP and basically stretching your items as long as you can. So you may not even use items depending on how good your team is, but let's take a look at some units that you could kind of run that are not given a lot of love, but they're units that you can run in boss rush viably. So of course you've got your mono leaders, you've got your mono teams. And I've had questions about this on Twitter, which is kind of what prompted this. Please make sure you're doing one of two things. You're running a mono team if you can, which I'm going to talk about a couple examples. And secondly, it is a full mono team. Don't have an AGL team and have like a physical unit, STR unit, or any of that in there, because while it may help you offensively because maybe your other units are weaker, it holds back your overall HP, which is very important. So let's go ahead and take a look at what I have here. So it's obviously showing the full database, but there are some very viable units as far as this goes. Of course, units like sealers, such as Oceanos Senron here, whenever it decides to load, are viable units for this. You have units that are healers, right? Healing units like AGL Kid Buu, who I don't see him. So let me go ahead and sort these out by rarity. So there we go. Actually, I can kind of actually just do this. Heal. I think that should work. Or not. All right. Kid Buu. Or not. Okay. Either way, It doesn't want to search for me. Go back to the AGL. I can go extreme AGL. Either way, having healing units goes a long way because it allows you to go longer without using items. And if you look at this Kid Buu, what his passive is he basically heals you by 10% HP or 12% HP at the start of the turn there. So skill copy there. He's not going to do a whole lot of damage. He's not going to give you a whole lot aside from that. But what he does do, 12% of your max HP at the start of the turn, while himself having a very high HP stat, which contributes to your team's overall maximum HP. The higher HP the stat is on your overall team, your full team, if you're running a mono team, that basically improves your overall maximum, you know, by a significant amount. And if you're not running a mono team, it still kind of applies, but you don't get the percentage increase from the mono leader. So it's a little bit different in that regard. And if you look at a unit like Oceanos here, like I said, a sealing unit. So what that means is that when they cause damage to the enemy, they seal the super attack. So sealing the super attack basically makes it to where this being in tandem with a guy that can kind of tank hits really well means that you're not going to take very much damage, and then on the following turn you can get some healing going. So now you find yourself in a scenario where the enemy is sealed, so they can't super attack you. You're tanking hits because you have a tanking unit there, and also you're regenerating HP because you have units that do that. And now you find yourself in a position where you don't have to use as many items or expend as many items like Icarus or Senzu Beans because you have that going on. And what do I mean by a tanking unit? I'm just completely showing the AGL unit group right now because they basically have all the examples for this. A unit like Golden Frieza here, while this is in the awakened form, still does the same thing. The awakened form is right here. He's going to hit a little harder. It doesn't really make much of a difference, but the passive is what matters. Damage received minus 80%. So if you seal the enemy, and then this guy gets hit, he's going to take 80% less damage on the normal attack, which is a lot more significant for you as the player versus him taking 80% less on the super attack. But if you've got to take a super attack, you want to put him there instead of somebody like Super Vegito, because Super Vegito does 80% less on received, but he doesn't do it to super attacks. So having a sealer like Oceanos does help Super Vegito immensely because there's no more super attacks that he could get hit with, so then he becomes a permatank for everything that comes his way. So you want to try to build your team in a way that you have maybe a healing unit or multiple tanking units and a sealer, things like that, to where you can leverage your items a little bit better. And let's look at a couple of options for units that I think that are drastically underutilized, and there's a couple that come into mind. One of them is available on global, one of them is not, but let's go ahead and take a look at the first one because we're already looking at the AGL unit group, and it's actually this guy right about in here somewhere. There he is, AGL Whis. So AGL Whis is a unit that, as passive says, recover all of your HP only once, so only one time in the battle when HP is 30% or below. So when Whis spawns and your HP is below 30% and Whis shows up, he's going to give you a full HP recovery. Now, this is very important because that is a free Senzu Bean for you in that event. And he also stuns, which goes a long way too, because I haven't really talked about stunners. I'll bring them up in a minute. But that goes a long way for you because in between these events, this resets. So if you're on the first boss rush stage, you beat Broly, you had to use it there, that's fine. You move on to Tech Cell, if you find yourself in the same scenario, it happens again because it says only once, but it means only once in that battle against that enemy. It doesn't reset in between phases, like say you're fighting Broly, and the first stage of him is physical base form Broly, then he goes STR and you have to use it on the physical one, and he goes STR, Whis will never do it again in that fight. But if you move on to Tech Cell afterwards, Whis will be able to do it, and then so on and so forth for every other boss that you would fight. And like I was saying, stunning units, they're very stunning. Very punny there, D-Free. Stun units are very good too because they allow you to avoid damage altogether. You know, you may not have tanking units, but if you can leverage stuns with stunning units, which there are very few very, very good stunners in the game, so they're kind of like secondary to the other things I talked about, then you're good to go. So let's go ahead and take a look at an option for a team, right? Because there are very viable options in the game. It just depends on what you have. Everybody's results may vary, but what I really wanted to kind of focus on here is, say for example, you don't have a Super Vegito. Now, I will never take away the possibility of you having a friend Super Vegito, because it's not very hard to find friends. That's what the friend list is for, especially if you're not seeing specific friends. You need to rank up, because when you rank up, you see better friends. That's just the reality of it. Spend a day or two just grinding your rank. I have a guide on that, the fastest way to level up in Dokkan Battle. Go ahead and check that out. But say you don't have him, he'll be your friend, that's fine. So what would your team actually look like? What would be your best case leader in that point to kind of get the most out of him? So one thing you want to make sure that you focus on too is your key management. So a guy like this Goku, which whether you have him or not, this is just an example, is good because he's a mono leader too. He's specifically for AGL types, but he offers 3 ki to them and 3,000 attack. 3,000 attack doesn't really help you a whole lot, but the thing is, he's offering ki while Vegito is offering 3 ki and then 70% to HP, attack, and defense with the friend leader skill. So with a team of him and you know, maybe starter Goku for the support, I want to try to add a couple guys in here. This Golden Frieza. This is actually not too OP of a team. I'm trying not to make a very OP team. Of course, Vegito's pretty OP, but he's the friend. It doesn't matter. That Whis that was down here somewhere. There he is. Whis. And maybe, let's just go free-to-play Pycon there. Is that enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need one more unit. The 6th unit will be World Tournament Beerus. Fine. This isn't this is a team example for my point now, not exactly my overall point. So a team like this, right, with this being your leader, this and Vegito on the bottom being your friend, a team like this, if you field it, could have around 140,000 HP or something like that, just off the top of my head. Correct me if I'm a little bit mistaken, but that's good enough. If you leverage your items right and you have the right team as far as defense goes and stuff, then you are good to go. So let's go ahead and get to the end of the video. I'm going to show off that other unit that I was talking about and kind of look at him really quick, and then we'll get to my overall points for this. So units, we're going into tech, and this guy's fairly new, to be honest. That's why I said he's not in global. He's fairly new. He came out with Cooler, which some of you guys may already know what he is. Since I said he came out with Cooler. He's right down here. Right, or maybe I've passed him. He is, right, there he is, Gohan. Icarus Gohan. Icarus Gohan is cool because he's Whis, but on steroids. So when you're below 30% HP, he max heals you, and he gives himself 200% more attack. So he also is able to hit harder, but also do the same thing as Whis, and he resets. So if you got him, if you're on JP, run Monotech, or whatever the closest iteration of Monotech you can field is, run that and you'd be good to go. So my points. Build your team. The most important thing in this game is the leader skill. Passives are secondary. They're very important, but the most important thing is the leader skill. In my opinion. Maybe passives, it's a toss-up depending on the player. But leader skill, which is what makes these god leads so important in this game, but you want to focus on having a good friend, right? So if you can't get a good friend, rank up, maybe refresh the list, run some stages, refresh the list. You'll find a good friend eventually. That's fine. The cool thing about Boss Rush is you could play it and then exit, then refresh your friends list, play it, exit, refresh until you find the one you want, because it doesn't cost any stamina or anything. So focus on a good friend leader. Build a mono team. I am going to 100% endorse mono teams because they are the ones that the game is centered around. Not to say that rainbow teams can't do it, but you want to kind of, if you're going to run a rainbow team, you're going to probably want to have an Arale lead, physical Arale lead, or physical Arale friend, and a Gogeta lead, and some really good tanking units in that team, because it's not as viable. So you're going to want to focus on that, and then also try to incorporate, if you don't have the best account, whatever, try to focus on incorporating some units that can take some hits, because you're going to need that. You're going to need units that can take some hits, like a Golden Frieza. Look at your unit group. Look at their passives. As they say they can reduce incoming damage, they're definitely a plus for something like this. So they're the next important thing. If you don't have the most top tier, most damaging units available, then they're the next most important thing. Third most important thing is a healer. Somebody like Buhan. I haven't really talked about Buhan, but Buhan's mono intelligence team with him And with Janemba, basically handles everything. I haven't really talked about a few things. One of them being like the ability to debuff. Lowering the enemy's attack on a super attack mechanic is very important. I'm sorry that just came to mind, but something like that is very important. It kind of fits into the tanking category. It's not like your most important thing. You will always want to go after a unit that can reduce incoming damage, but somebody that can sit there and lower the enemy's attack and stall them out that way is very good. Like somebody like this Arale, when she attacks an enemy, they lose 15% attack for 3 turns. That stacks. So every turn if she's on rotation, they're losing up to 45%. So it's very important that you have units that do that too, but they're kind of fitting into the defensive mold because they allow your other units to tank really well. Similar to LR Piccolo, guys like him increasing defense, taking damage mitigated, you know, things like that. They're all defense. So they're the next most important thing. A healer is third on my list. So it's leader skill, defense, healer, and then the stunners at the bottom, but they're important too in their own right. So any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys learned something. Hope I was able to give you guys some good ideas. So have an awesome day, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow with the next Dokkan Battle Time Machine. I'm going to talk about that one, and we're talking about Super Saiyan God Goku. So have an awesome day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.